It's longer time. Yay! Lager time. Poems, stories, and thoughts. By me, Paul Cree. Who else? Greetings, bonjour, what's happening? Welcome to Lager Time. My name is Paul Cree. This is my podcast where I share bits of writing that I'm working on. Poems, stories, thoughts, music. Few poems this week going to be on a music theme. Just so happened that I was thinking about music this morning. The reason why I was thinking about music this morning is I've been mixing these tracks from More 64s of Boredom EP, which I've spoke about probably every week. Shared all of the tracks on the EP from December up to January, I think it was. And then now I'm in the process of trying to finish them off. It's always like the harder bit, really. It takes a lot of work. I love that initial make a beat, write some lyrics, roughly record it. Love doing that. But now I'm in the nitty gritty and mixing and then mastering, getting it ready to put it out. It's quite difficult, and it's something I'm learning to do. I've done it a few times now, but you know, it's difficult. There's so much to learn. It feels like there's always something more that you can know. And there's people I know who are engineers who specialize in just this one particular aspect, and it can be quite overwhelming. So I'm learning, feeling my way through it. But I've been enjoying it. I've just got onto the third track. So now maybe that'll take me a week or so, because I'm doing it as and when I can. It's not priority. Which brings me to the thoughts that I was having this morning and generally while I've been doing this. And it also is relevant to doing this podcast and writing poems. I'm like, why am I even doing this? I do have these thoughts quite a lot, and I imagine most artists do, right? Particularly when it's not a commission, you're just doing it off your own back. And I don't think it always matters that much to have a solid reason why you're doing it. Where I've worked professionally in this world, theatre, performance, poetry, and where you are often working with funding, subsidized grants, they require you to stipulate and write about your reasons for doing it and what the outcomes are. And I think to a degree, that's a good thing. It's public money quite often. You should be accountable for it. However, sometimes you just don't know. Anyway, so here I am labouring over all of this music. And I'm thinking, why am I doing this? It takes hours. It takes ages. Like the whole process, writing the lyrics, making the beats, adding things, listening, mixing it down, going back, playing it again, doing whatever to it, right? And the likelihood is that I will put it onto Bandcamp and then onto the distributor I use CD Baby in, and then they send it out to, you know, Spotify and Apple Music and all of that. And it will get like a handful of plays, right? Like most of my music. And I'm not that bothered about the last part. I suppose because music is, it's not, I don't have to do it. I work in the arts, and I've written a lot of music where I've been paid to do it, but that's mostly for shows. This is just me. So why am I doing it? It's painstaking. And sometimes I'm like, might be chilling with my wife and I'm thinking, oh, I just got to nip down to Lager HQ to like work on this tune. Why? And it's like, I don't know. But I feel like this need to. But I think really I just enjoy it. But then I think, well, if I go to all of this trouble and I make the thing and I put the thing out, well, why not go all out and spend hours and hours and hours making lists of journalists and blogs and playlists and whatever, pluggers, and sending it out and making loads of little videos and whatever. That part of it, I just think, oh, I can't. I have very little bandwidth or patience for, but so again, why do it? Why do this little lager time? I don't get anything from doing this, as in materially. A handful of people listen every week, I think, which is great and I'm very grateful for, but why do it? And I don't know. I think like having an art or a craft, a creative craft, I think maybe there is some obligation to keep doing it and keep it going, because it is one of those things where if you don't do it, you lose the form. I get scared of losing the form. But there you go. Just as I'm recording the podcast. So let's get into some poems. Most of them are music related. So this first one, I thought I was doing it last week and I'm pretty sure I'd copied it into my little document that I use when I record the shows and it never was there. Hence last week was so short. But, you know, maybe that was for the best because I decided to make this one a sort of music themed one. So this is called Two Tunes, No Tone. Back when CDs still sold, I was working music retail, Gatwick Airport, early shift. Two teenage girls walk in, family browsing elsewhere. Older looking one picks up an album. Black Eyed Peas, Ellie Funk. There's only 2 songs worth listening to on this, she says with a tone of authority. Oh, the other one replies with a tone I don't wish to discern, even though I did. If I was to ask this harsh critic, so which 2 songs are they then? Most likely, she would have named the 2 singles. Spun dizzy with radio rotation, adverts and MTV. I could well have been wrong, of course. Probably wasn't, though. What bothered me was the casual assertion of informed opinion while mugging off the remaining songs without having even heard them, most likely. When she could have just said, I only know the big ones. So why not give all of it a listen? You never know. You might like it. But that requires a bit more work, doesn't it? They walked off in search of their parents. I'm sure they had a great holiday, with or without Black Eyed Peas or my condescending judgment. Yeah, I remember this. So I worked there 2003, 2004. It's weird. That album, which I vaguely remember, I probably thought it was a load of crap. I remember there was one Black Eyed Peas album before, maybe it was the first or second, it was sick. I remember they kind of took that commercial turn and they got, I forget her name, but the singer in and it all went a bit, But there you go. I suppose that piece there enforces that stereotype of the snarky, judgmental music shop worker. And I tried not to be that when I worked there. I really did. I definitely have had those high and mighty like thoughts and judgments or whatever, but It's more like, it's beyond music. It's more that, and I do this myself, and I try not to, and I've caught myself doing it, or people have called me out for doing it, but where you take something that you don't really know about, and then you find yourself talking as if you do. But really that talking, that confidence is masking all the stuff you don't know. But anyway, there you go. Right, this next one, school bus. This is probably the least musically related one, but it's like noise. Sometimes this life has all the noise of a top-deck London bus, packed with school kids, unfiltered, rudderless and lacking control. Heated particles fizzy off hormones and sugar, fearless and chaotic. When it's like this, there ain't a lot one can do but sit tight, grit teeth, clench, until it all clears. Yeah. London top deck afternoon. Couple of times recently I've seen it kick off, in particular with school kids. I saw one guy who was a dad sat with his daughter. I don't know exactly what had happened, but he was going berserk. I think where some school kids, and they were probably about 14, 15, they'd bowled on, and one of them had knocked his daughter, and she looked about 10. Guy was going nuts, like properly nuts. But I sympathise with him in a way, you know. And then I think, I used to get a school bus every day, and the church paid for it because we went to Catholic school and we lived in the neighbouring town. So all the kids from my town that went to the school, the church paid for it. But if wherever we misbehaved on the bus, which we did, we'd quite often get pulled behind at assembly and get a bollocking, you know. So I don't know. What do you do? Okay, next one. Iron Signal. My brother sent me a link to this article about Iron Maiden, the metal band. I'd half read it on the Lizzie line, but had to stop and switch trains at Whitechapel. The article was talking about how they'd never really changed. What they did, they just kept doing it. I was enjoying it, so got stuck straight back in when I got on the district tube, sat down and continued to read. This old boy then sits opposite me with a long white beard, hair, and of course a sleeveless denim jacket with Iron Maiden patches and Iron Maiden bracelets. Immediately I thought, I need to talk to this guy, let him know that I'm reading about Maiden. I didn't know. Like Maiden, I just carried on reading and told myself the gap between us was too big to have a conversation. Maybe we didn't need to speak after all. That was enough. Yeah, there you go. True story. Funnily enough, tonight, my wife and I, and this brother who I mentioned in this is going to be there as well, going to see the Deftones at O2. I'm not a massive Deftones fan, but my wife is, and so is my brother. I think I've got one of their albums. I don't mind a bit of metal. I guess I was more into bass and kind of rap-driven music or whatever, but there are some bands I really do like. More to going tonight because my wife wanted to go. But the thing I liked about metalers in particular is the dedication to the cause. I was at Roundhouse. I did a lot of stuff up there back in the day in Camden. They got all these music studios. And I was there one Saturday, right? And they've got all of these rehearsal rooms and studios, and there's always like young kids rehearsing. And I was on a project. And sometimes you get like older people using the rehearsal rooms. And there were like some kind of metal band rehearsing there, much older guys. They looked like 40s and 50s, and they were all dressed like the guy in this poem, the metal uniform. And it just so happened there was a bunch of kids in there who looked about 12 who were also metalers. And they came out at the same time as these older guys, and they were all wearing like the Maiden and, Metallica, Megadeth, the uniform, right? The long hair. It was a nice little moment. I was like, I respect that about metalers. They're like a tribe. They're a group. And once you're in for life. And it doesn't matter if you're 65 or you're 12. That's it, you're in. And you have the uniform and that. It's a nice moment. Whistle posse. At some point, the world got taken over by a load of kids too scared to get in the swimming pool. They got hold of the lifeguard's whistle and went happy hardcore. Now, a load of us are scared to get in. Not because of the water, though. Tenuous link there to music, but it mentions happy hardcore. What happened to that? In the 90s, when I was at school, there was jungle and then garage, but there was also happy hardcore, which less people were into. I gather it was a lot bigger up north, but it was like 90 BPM, mental, like 4/4 house, and they'd quite often do what they did in a lot of hip hop in the 90s. They would take vocals and pitch them right up. Happy hardcore, bonkers. A good mate of mine was mad into it, and he went really into it, and there was like a darker side to it, you know, like more industrial techno, like gabba. Yeah, it was way too much for me. But I went to one or two of those events because my mate liked it, and there was just people like relentlessly blowing on the whistles and the horns. That did my head in. But you get that at the drum and bass nights as well. And for a good period, there was like a crossover between the two. You'd go to an event and they'd have a drum and bass room, a garage room, or like breakbeat. And then there'd be like the smaller room would be like the hardcore room. And sometimes the other way around. Which brings me to the next piece, which is the last piece, which is called Clublife. Now, this piece is a couple of years old. I've probably played it on here before, but I made a little video for it. Well, not a video. I put it on YouTube, but I made a little sort of sound design to sit behind it. I had some old sample CDs with some aiming breaks on them, so I sampled those and chopped and changed between them a bit and made like a bass line. I was just trying to capture a vibe, really. But you can see it's called Clublife, and this one will finish off. Leads quite nicely from the last one. I was never on the rave wear. High vis, face paint, whistles. Weren't me, mate. Preferred hoods, Stussy, Echo, Evisu. Couldn't afford any of it. I often wondered how the rude boys did, all kitted out in Mosh and Air Max. Doubt that many of them were dealers or rich kids. Clothes on tick, most likely. A time when banks would frisbee out credit cards to anyone asking. Got me in the end. All that fancy dress looked fun, but it weren't me, mate. My eyes would be on the DJ booth or the stage as soon as we entered the place. The PA, the DJs, MCs, the lights, the haze. Silhouettes of nodding heads and ravers holding down their space. The darkness. Loved it, mate. Weren't really on the drugs thing either. Preferred the beers. Could deal with the hangovers. Pill come downs was something else, like the world got turned inside out and spat me out on a train platform. Some grease-stained chicken box, all gristle and bone, jaw ache and cold sweats. Charlie turned mates into dickheads. Puff was one of them things that was grief to get in. Just a few beers for me, mate. Got blasted off breaks, bass, double drops, dub plates, and MCs spitting lyrics. Just wishing it was me, bopping away, holding down my space, mentally replacing him on stage with my face. One day, mate. And that brings us to the end of this week's Lager Time. Thank you very much for listening. As ever, if you enjoy this, and you think you know someone who may enjoy this, I don't know, just say, oh, have a listen to this guy. Don't forget also, you can see me live Friday, 27th of March. So just under a month now. Poetry on POPPADUMS at Karmel, Wood Green, North London, Friday night. Murray, Lachlan, Young is the headliner. Then there's me. Then there's Skye, Lily, all hosted by Paul Lyals. Should be a laugh. It normally is. It's a good night. And there's normally a good audience there as well. So yeah, come through. And I hope that you enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thank you very much for listening. If you've got all this far, if you've got this far, yeah, keep it larger than life and all of that. And I will see you on the other side. Peas and taters. Paul. It's longer time. Yay! Lager time. Poems, stories and thoughts. By me, Paul Cree. Who else?